black box, white box, experience-based. How do we know which one to use?
Black box tests what the system should do. White box tests how it works. Experience-based? That's all about intuition.
Sounds like I need all three. Black box test techniques. So, Sara, last time we covered reviews, but when it comes to actual testing, how do we decide what to test and how to test it?
That's why we need a structured discussion. Then we report the issues, fix the defects, and verify the fixes before closing the review.
Looks like there are three main types: black box, white box, and experience-based. What's the difference?
Great observation. Black box techniques focus on what the system should do without looking at the internal code. White box techniques dive into how the system is implemented, and experience-based techniques rely on a tester's intuition and knowledge.
So, if we change the implementation but keep the behavior the same, our black box tests still work?
Exactly. Let's start with black box techniques. Imagine we're testing a form that only accepts numbers between 1 and 100. Instead of testing every single number, we divide inputs into partitions. Valid numbers, 1 to 100, and invalid numbers, less than 1, greater than 100, or non-numeric values.
So instead of testing 1, 2, 3, we just pick one value from each partition.
That's the idea. If one value in a partition passes, we assume the others will too.
What is boundary value analysis?
Since defects often occur at boundaries, BVA focuses on testing the edges. Here we test 1 and 100 because they're valid boundaries, along with 0 and 101, which are invalid boundaries.
So if a developer accidentally used x greater than 100 instead of x greater than and equal to 100, BVA would catch it?
Exactly. Some systems have multiple conditions that affect outcomes. Decision tables help us systematically test all combinations.
Sounds like a logic puzzle.
It is. Each column represents a rule. If the customer is a member and spends more than $50, they get a discount. If not, they don't.
And if we find an empty row, that means we forgot to define a rule.
Exactly. Decision tables help catch gaps in logic.
State transition testing. The screen updates to a state transition diagram showing login states. Logged out, enter credentials, logged in.
Some systems behave differently based on previous actions. State transition testing helps verify correct behavior when moving between states.
So, we'd test valid transitions like logging in successfully, but also invalid ones like entering the wrong password multiple times.
That's right. Testing invalid transitions ensures the system doesn't allow unexpected behaviors. Now let's talk white box techniques. These require knowledge of the internal code. One example is statement coverage, ensuring each line of code is executed at least once.
Sounds useful for developers writing unit tests. What's another technique?
Branch coverage. It ensures both the if and else conditions in a decision structure are tested.
So we make sure every possible path in the code gets tested?
Exactly. Finally, we have experience-based techniques where testers rely on intuition and past experience. These include exploratory testing and error guessing.
So if I know a developer always forgets to handle null values, I'd test that first.
Exactly. These techniques help find defects that structured techniques might miss.
So different test techniques help us approach testing from multiple angles. Black box tests what the system should do, white box tests how it's built, and experience-based fills in the gaps.
Perfect summary. Next, we'll explore how to combine these techniques for maximum coverage.
Can't wait.
All right, Bob. Today we're diving into white box test techniques. These techniques focus on the internal structure of the software.
That sounds interesting. So, white box testing is about looking inside the software and ensuring that the actual code works correctly.
Exactly. Unlike black box testing, where we test based on behavior, White box testing lets us analyze the internal code structure.
Testtactix, upskill, innovate, succeed. Want to succeed in your QA journey? Subscribe for more engaging videos like this and take your QA skills to the next level.